Dub Zone, a glorious free kick silences the Roar in the West. Sydney's killer, Jensevsky, seals the Big Blue for victory. And Matilda Jessica Nash will join us after their big win over the Knicks. Hello and welcome to Dub Zone. I'm Amy Duggan. Great to join you on the panel today and to be joined by two-time Ninja A-League Championship winner Teresa Polias and our Ninja A-Leagues commentator and a walking encyclopedia, Teo Pellizzeri. Great to have you both here.
It's great to be back.
Yeah, well, there's some bangers we'll have a look at in just a moment. But first, Teresa, what was your favourite moment of the week?
Mine's got to be Ella Abdulmasi's late winner for Perth, 18 years old, absolute banger. The audacity, it was incredible.
I had a lot of fun commentating the Newcastle versus Canberra game. Didn't help either team on the ladder, but just in isolation, these are the sort of matches that you can just enjoy for 90 minutes because there's so much happening and there's so much fun, and I can't wait to get into dissecting it all.
Well, we are going to start with your favourite moment, in fact, Teresa, on the show, and that is Perth's win over at the Sam Kerr Football Centre in Perth. This one came very late, but they were very grateful for the full points and the goal coming from an 18-year-old too.
So the Glory will want to launch themselves forward. Ball over the top, searching for Abdulmasi. Other Abdulmasi brought to ground by Holly McQueen. A decision here for the referee. The red card is produced. 6 in the wall for Brisbane. Can the 18-year-old score her first goal in the competition to make herself the hero? Abdulmasi shoots and she scores. A dramatic late winner from the 18-year-old in front of their home fans. The Glory have done the unthinkable and they've beaten the Brisbane Roar.
When she got that free kick, I looked at her and I wanted it, and she said, "Can I have it?" I said, "As long as you hit it on frame," and she did just that. It was honestly perfect.
Yeah, 18-year-old Ella Abdulmasi giving Perth the 3 points and their third win of the season with that free kick. The confidence of an 18-year-old to step up and say, "I want it," and then bury it.
Like I said, the audacity to, ask the skipper to take it, but, nice of the skipper to let her have it, and a great strike at that.
What was with the defensive wall placement? I mean, a few issues here for the Brisbane Roar. Firstly, Holly McQueen gets a red card and will probably be suspended. Roar haven't answered yet whether they're going to appeal this or not. We'll probably know by the end of Tuesday. But there's, as we heard from Taryn in the commentary, there's 6 in the wall, and it doesn't even go under the wall. It goes through a gap. So explain, as a captain who probably wasn't in the defensive wall too often during your own career.
On the edge if I was.
But explain to us what Brisbane got wrong there in that final moment.
That wall didn't even cover that near post if there, it was quite central. But yeah, that's the bare minimum there. So they'll definitely be reviewing that. It's just errors like that lately in their game they're being punished for.
Well, let's talk about it, because Brisbane threw away the lead twice. They've now lost 3 games in a row and could technically be out of the 6 as well.
Yeah, it's dire times for them at the moment. They really peaked earlier in the competition, and whatever it is, there's a few mental lapses, especially at the back with them lately. They are able to score goals still, but that cracker there from Tamika Yalla, amazing, but not keeping them out the other end.
As far as exerting control on games, they were still the ball dominant team in this match, and really errors coughed up the goals. This is a very nicely taken goal by Caitlin Douglas, but we'll see from Douglas's second goal, she catches the keeper Sakani in possession. Momo Hayashi expected to be out for 4 to 6 weeks after that tackle from Nano Sasaki a couple of weeks ago. Are we underrating her effect on this Raw team, or should the structure of the Raw side be good enough to deal with losing one player?
Well, she's been a huge player for them from the start of the season in terms of attack and in defence too. So definitely they're missing her. But when you look at the errors they're making, do you think Momo Hayashi's presence would have changed that out there? I don't know.
I think playing out from the back was one thing we had dinged the Raw for in the earlier rounds of the season. That problem doesn't appear to have gone away. Sakani, we know, is on loan from the NWSL and won't be here for finals if Raw make the top 6. So are we getting close to a point where they have to start thinking about Keely Richards coming in a little bit earlier? Because the plan was always for Richards to finish the season regardless.
We're seeing a lot of keeper battles this season, and I think it's time. Give her a go. I think, there's been more than enough chances for Sakani, and throw Keely Richards in for a game for sure.
She did dish up a couple of howlers, including this one in the match, giving Douglas her brace. And as you said, Taya, the loan deal ends in March. So, yeah, likelihood is Brisbane will be looking for another backup keeper.
We've nitpicked the Roar a lot here. We've got to give credit
That's
to Perth
right,
because
yeah.
they had a bit of a horror week in Melbourne. They lost both games. They weren't particularly good against Western United in the second game. But they're a different proposition at home. And I think the other factor is visiting teams are also a different proposition away in Perth, and that was a factor.
Correct, Taya. And I think that in the first half they created plenty, and credit to Caitlin Douglas. I mean, she had 2 one-on-ones as well, which she missed. Kept ahead and then scored. So that's really mature from her. But they really grinded it out in the second half to hold Brisbane out and then come away with the late winner. So full credit has to go to Perth here.
For the 3 points. There was one great point for Brisbane Roar, and it came with the name Tamika Yallop. Decisive moment with your back to goal to then backheel and score. And what that has done is tie her up with Sam Kerr on 70 goals for second spot on the all-time Ninja A-League goal scorer list. She might have to play till she's about 105 to... get close to Michelle Heyman's total there.
It's great, though, that we're seeing Tamika Yallop draw level at the Sam Kerr Football Centre.
Yeah, how fitting.
It's nice to kind of be part of living in the history of the game celebrating its champions, even as the champions are still playing in front of us.
They're still playing, they're still breaking records, and it's really great to see.
Wonderful. Well, I want to move on, and we talked about both of your favourite moments off the top of the show, and I want to share with you my favourite moment this week, which was the goal from Alana Yan in the Big Blue.
Yanchevsky with the direct shot. What a cracking goal! Alana Yanchevsky. She loves playing Sydney FC, and she's fired up after putting a rocket into the corner. Well, it can barely draw a smile out of the capper, but everyone else inside Amy Park is dazzled by that. Alana Yanchevsky with one of the goals of the season from a free kick.
And that Yanchevsky goal, obviously, putting Melbourne Victory up 1-0 over Sydney FC. That one finished 2-0 at the end of the game. So lots to answer for in Sydney FC, but can we please just concentrate on this amazing free kick? And I know that you're going to tell me, if you watched her in NPL, you would have known this was in her locker.
Yeah, we know that. We've seen it this season as well, and it was unsavable. An incredible free kick. You called it so well, Teo, and you could watch that over and over again. But I just felt, Victory did dominate the match from start to finish.
Not bad for a player who's having to fill in at left back as well. Alana Yanchevsky, if she could choose, she'd be playing as a number 10 for Melbourne Victory every week. And here she is as a left back. Some of the camera angles on this were just absolutely delicious. Is that goal of the year, though? Can you win goal of the year from a direct free kick?
I don't think you can.
I think you can.
I think you can.
I think that's a contender.
Look, it's up there with absolutely beautiful. Maybe it needs a separate category, like dead ball goal of the year, but
I think when you're that far out on your left foot and you ping it into the top corner and there was no chance to save it.
The power she got on that.
Yeah, the power was absolutely unbelievable.
Yanchevsky scored the match-winning goal in both home and away against Sydney FC this season. And in her time at Perth, she got COVID, had a long COVID, really struggled to come back from it. This is someone who was one of our brighter prospects in the Australia under-17 national team, but she never really had the form to get picked for the under-20s. She's 21 now, playing amazing football in the Ninja A-League. So is she back on track for the trajectory that we might have been hoping for when she was a younger teenager?
Totally. This is her season of redemption, really, and she's at her girlhood club, the club she's supported from the beginning, and you can see the passion she has putting on that jersey every week, and it's really paid off for Victory this season.
Well, young 20-year-olds are really stealing the limelight at Melbourne Victory at the moment. Let's focus on Holly Furphy for a moment. She's 22 and debuted and sealed the deal for her team with her 77th minute goal. She's a pretty famous family.
Yeah, famous sporting family we're hearing, so no surprises there.
Here's the thing, Holly was a standout first. I mean, one brother Joe was playing for Geelong in the AFL this last winter. The other brother Johnny is on the books of the Indiana Pacers in the NBA and was a big star in college. But Holly was like a good footballer and in the young Matildas before either of those two rose to prominence, and she's only 22. She went to Santa Clara, which is a D1 college, has produced a lot of US women's national team players, but she did suffer an ACL while she was over in college. So 22, kind of at a launching point. I mean, it's nice to come in and score a goal as a debutant, but that's actually like a ready player to come in and make an immediate
well, she's
impact.
ready. You saw she went straight on, played to her strengths, got in behind and finished. It wasn't an easy finish. So, really exciting stuff.
I think after Holly's done with the United States and college, I'm fascinated as to what the next step is, though, because she'll be 23 and has sort of like got her name out there now. So is it, back to Melbourne, back to her hometown, or does the rest of the A-League women say, well, there's a ready-made striker, someone who's a proven goal scorer,
well, I know a team
and
that
have a
could do
list
There's
of
a few
suitors.
teams that could do with
I'm thinking a team like
her.
Sydney FC perhaps could do with a striker like this. Again, squandering many chances.
Yeah,
in front of
once
goal.
again, same story really for Sydney.
Well, when you say same story, they had very similar numbers in terms of
there you go.
possession, in terms of ball retention. They had chances, but why is it that we've talked a lot about personnel, but why the stubbornness on no change of method, Teresa?
I'm not sure, and that's a great question, Teo, and that's the issue. And really, they only got going around the 60th minute, as we can see here. That's when a bit of momentum swung in their favour for whatever reason.
Now that there, Abby Lemon forces a point-blank save out of Courtney Newbond, but the referee pays it as a goal kick and then Victory score from the next phase of play. And I think a lot of the fans were kind of taking refuge from, referee got it wrong, it should have been our corner. And they concede, right up the other end from the next phase of play. I mean, they're kind of, I don't know, it's looking for excuses, really.
Yeah,
isn't
look, it was the first game where I sort of felt like Sydney were a little flat and there just wasn't much happening. So, yeah, look, same story. Something has to change.
As they were chasing them, they did make one switch I liked. They swapped Margot Chevet back into centre back and put Nat Tobin in midfield.
Yeah, I like
but
that.
we don't want to overload Nat Tobin in her first year back from an ACL. So is this something that they can only do in case of emergency, or do you think they'll try it more often?
Nat can handle it. She's played in the midfield most of her career.
Yep.
As a holding player, you can be more disciplined and hold and support that back line. So I like that change, and that's what sort of swung the momentum in their favour. So perhaps that's a big change on Team White.
And if you go back over the last couple of weeks of their form, the goals that Sydney have scored have actually come from some Nat Tobin runs with the ball through the
she's
centre
been
of
doing it
midfield.
all season. She's good at it. Why not throw her in and to do that?
One more week's grace for Sydney FC because, Amy, you've got the reason why.
They're running out of time.
Well,
they're running out of time.
I won't talk about the reason why, but I will ask as we turn their attention to the next game because it is super important and you can let people know why. Adelaide United, round 14. Sydney are 10 from 10 against Adelaide at home. 32 goals scored and only 6 conceded. Somehow, I don't think that trend is going to continue.
But is it, T, because you played in most of these games over the course of W League and A-League women's history, Sydney have never dropped a point at home to Adelaide. So if there is a changing of the guard, does it coincide with this game, which Sydney has always won in Sydney?
It's not getting any easier for Sydney because Adelaide they're in really good form. However, I thought if you watch the way Western United approached Adelaide, if Sydney can have a look at that, and because Adelaide were really quiet in that second half, so. Look, I don't know about whether that's going to continue. Obviously, the stats say it won't, but it's in the context of this season, it's a hard task once again.
Well, and Adelaide have been playing very, very well. All right, it is time to see what is cooking on socials with Nalin Mastou, thanks to Ninja.
I'm Nalin Mastou with what's cooking on socials and in the world of women's football. Brought to you by the Ninja Woodfire Outdoor Oven, which can turn any space into an outdoor kitchen. Let's kick it off with Matildas and Ninja A-League legend Claire Polkinghorne, who was awarded the Medal of Order of Australia for her service to football. It's just another feather in the cap for Polkinghorne, who was Australia's most capped player with 169 appearances, featuring at 5 FIFA Women's World Cups and 3 Olympic Games. Now on to another Ninja A-League fan favourite, Maria Cote Rojas, who is officially an Aussie citizen. The Chilean international received her citizenship 10 years on from her arrival down under, where she spent her playing years at Adelaide United, Sydney FC, Melbourne City and Canberra United. Rojas also recently announced her return to Flinders United. And finally, there were a few more viral moments in the Ninja A-League, as there usually is. We're talking some handstands, some sort of acrobatics, red card drama, and some more throwing shenanigans. But the pick of the lot was Alana Yan's outrageous free kick, which garnered 1.3 million views. It's one of the greatest free kicks you'll see in Ninja A-League history. And the fact that she did it for the club she grew up supporting just means a whole lot more. Well, that's all for this week's edition of What's Cooking on Socials, brought to you by Ninja. Now it's time to head back to the Dub Zone crew.
Well, thank you, Nalin, and 1.3 million viewers. Cannot be wrong about that Yan goal, along with the three of us here on the panel as well. Some fantastic moments, but we are going to talk to a former teammate of Yan now, and that is Central Coast Mariners' Jessica Nash, who's just ducked off the training paddock to join us from the change rooms. Morning, Jess.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great to have you with us. Obviously, you put on some different colours this season. How are you finding it?
Oh, I'm absolutely loving the coast. I think the environment up here, both on and off the field, has really allowed me to play my best football. So, yeah, I'm absolutely enjoying my time up here.
Hi Jess, it's Teresa here. Your team are up to 5th. You knocked the Phoenix down to 6th. It was a close game against the Phoenix. Can you tell us your thoughts on that and your thoughts on the closeness of the whole competition?
Oh, yeah, I think you touched on it. I think the whole competition is really close this season, which has been great. I mean, no matter who you're playing, you know that it's going to be an absolute battle week in and week out. And to get those points on the weekend for us were vital in putting us back into that top 6 in final contention.
Jessica, you've played centre-back every minute of the season so far, but due to injuries and due to your coach husband trying some different players, the Central Coast defence isn't even fielding defenders at the moment. You're almost babysitting midfielders. What is going on with that defence, and how is it that you have the fewest goals conceded in spite of the adversary that you've faced?
Yeah, I think that's a credit to Em and her coaching staff, as well as the girls that have slotted in there. I think they've done it seamlessly. You saw Taylor Ray play there on the weekend, but you've also seen the likes of Bianca Galich and Jess Seaman as well making her debut. So I think for us, it's about having that strong backline. Like, we've conceded the least amount in the whole entire league. So I think that's a credit to the whole entire team, not just the backline. So yeah, for us, it's keeping moving forward and keeping that score to a minimum.
Now, you're too modest to say that perhaps your own form is a big reason for that, but I will say it. So what is getting the best out of you? How much of it is coaching? How much of it is environment? And how much of it is simply maturity and the fact that you've been in this league now since you were 15 or 16 and now you are 20 turning 21?
Yeah, I think for me it's a massive credit to the environment that I'm in here with Em husband and her coaching staff. I think for me they've really allowed me to flourish in that centre-back position and kind of take on that role with both hands, as well as the players that I'm playing alongside. I've got the likes of Taylor Ray. She is an absolute beast, and for me it was so simple playing alongside her on the weekend. I absolutely loved it. But yeah, the whole team is a credit. I think we've been able to play some good football at times, but I think the best is yet to come with our squad.
And just the win against the Phoenix was close. It was narrow, 1-0. Tiana Fuller, what a strike from her. Can you tell us about her impact this season?
Yeah, I think she's come onto the scene absolutely and taken that chance with both hands. I think when she's shown up in big moments for us, and that's a massive credit for her. So yeah, to get that goal on the weekend was amazing. I think she had a few chances even before that, so she's creating them and putting them away, which we're more than happy to get around her. It's amazing to see.
Jessica, you were the captain of the young Matildas, of course, and your own path being thrust into the Matildas spotlight at just 17 years old. Given that you've walked this path only recently, are you in a unique position to be able to guide someone like a Tiana Fuller and some of your other young teammates, be they in the national team youth ranks or at the Central Coast, about the best way to deal with both the attention but also just the personal expectations and the pressure that can come from getting an opportunity on a big stage at a young age?
Yeah, definitely. I try to give her as much feedback as I possibly can, but she's honestly an incredible human, both on and off the field. So actually, I've learned a lot from her myself. But you've got the likes of Bianca Galich and Taryn King in this squad that she has wonders to look up to. So for me, it's how can we get the best information to her and how can she absorb that and put it into her game on the weekend?
Jess, it can't all be serious out on the paddock, and there was a bit of a comical moment from Sarah Rowe during this game where, she copped a tackle and then did a great cartwheel. Is this something you guys are practising, perhaps saving for a celebration and it's come out early?
Oh, I don't know. I think Rory's had a few chances on the weekends. So I'd love to see that as a celebration, to be fair. I think the girls had a good laugh and it's good to be able to look back on it. I mean, we've got the 3 points in the end, which is the main thing. But yeah, no, it was funny to look back in video and have a good laugh about it.
Her return to the Ninja A-League, a bit out of the blue, given that she was at Melbourne Victory a couple of seasons ago. Is she still bringing the Gaelic football or an Aussie rules football to training? Like, is she 100% locked in on football? Where do you see her game going, given that she's basically not missed a beat since she was signed mid-season?
Yeah, I think it's wherever she wants to take it. I mean, she's an incredible athlete and she can play all different kinds of sport. We've seen that. And I think she's really starting to pick back up where she left off at Victory. And yeah, hitting her stride. I think it's great to see. She's a real aggressive player, which I absolutely love having by my side. And yeah, I love the ability for her to get stuck in both in her training and on the weekend.
Well, it was a great 1-0 win, and as you said, all 3 points and jumping up the ladder, and great to see you smiling and happy at the Central Coast, Jess. We want to keep our fingers crossed for you in the coming days, as the Matildas obviously have their She Believes campaign at the end of February, and 3 of us will be hoping to see your name on that team list for that competition. So all the best for that and the rest of the season.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
We're now going to catch the post-match reaction from goal scorer 16-year-old Tiana Fuller.
Oh, honestly amazing. It's like dream start in the league, like very happy with what I'm doing. Oh, I looked at and I just thought in my head I can do it, so just went for it. Definitely practiced it many times down at the park during training, but when I hit the post it scared me a little bit, but happy it went in.
Yeah, great, well spoken, and great to see a 16-year-old on the score sheet as well. There's a few young guns coming through, keeping some of that old generation right on their toes. Speaking of great games on the weekend, Canberra United and Newcastle played out a 2-2 draw. Very entertaining match. Teo, I'm going to come to you because you called it tight, must win. What were some of the highlights?
Got to say, there were 3 of the 4 goals scored in the first half an hour, but the actual quality of the chances created improved as the game went on, and neither team were able to take them. Newcastle, we've seen them be very stodgy and slow in some games. You think of the loss to Melbourne Victory a couple of weeks ago in particular, but this turned into a track meet. The intensity and the running, it might have been to do with, the late night kickoff time as the second of a double header at McDonald Jones, but it just felt as though there was no let up. This is one of the great assists of the season here from Josie Allen.
Yeah.
And Teresa, Newcastle, they can't do this to the top teams, but against the mid-range teams and against some of the lower teams, they can really turn on a very entertaining, free-flowing style of football.
Yeah, that's been their issue this season. They're creating chances, and that match against Canberra, they've had it all, really. Both teams, you could see, were desperate for the points, had to share them, but the quality of the goals and the assists were brilliant.
Newcastle might be underachieving in that they've only got 11 competition points from 12 games, but you can see the vision when on their day they're able to play like this. And some of the individual players, Sophie Hoban was immense with the box-to-box running throughout the course of the game. These aren't players who are considered leading lights of this competition. They're either emerging players or players that are still establishing themselves in this league. It's just a shame that they don't win more, because then we'd be talking about just the ceiling on some of the potential in this team.
That's the thing with Newcastle, but the more experience these players get, the more they retain their local talent. I think, come next season, the season after, I think they'll reap the rewards of all of this.
Natasha Pryor will have a question mark over her head following a clash in this game. Concussion is something that has unfortunately followed her around for much of her career. Is this another incident where we have to be really worried?
Yeah, look, just given, Tash Pryor's history with concussion, she was out of the game for a few years because of that. So really concerning to see, and obviously Holly Murray on the end of that as well. So it was a complete accident in this situation, but yeah, really concerning signs for Tash Pryor.
The reporting we got from the ground on the day is that Pryor was not diagnosed with a concussion, but that Murray had entered the protocol. And it's just confronting because of the visceral nature of the collision. But then you add in the who and the history. It's a great concern. And it's an incident that happens when you're a centre-back. You're often putting your head at both ends of the pitch in, places where other players would be, not brave enough to do so.
I mean, Tash Pryor, she's she's got that stature and she's often a target player, so she's going to be in those situations. But credit to Newcastle. Both teams, they put the players first and, looked after their welfare.
And I also just want to get your thoughts on Canberra in this match. We've focused a lot on Newcastle, but Canberra did put away 2 great goals, one from quite an acute angle, which you've got to take your hat off to.
Christopherson again.
Yeah, Christopherson again getting on the score sheet and our all-time favourite, Michelle Heyman, at the top of the goal scorers list, just adding another one to the tally.
I mean, they hit the woodwork. They had Daniel Krasaniak making some great saves. Maya Markovsky perhaps could have scored the winner late. Bethany Gordon was shattered in the post-match interview. Like, if you watch it on the A-League's website, we were trying to get some insight, and she was just almost too unhappy that Canberra couldn't win the game. They were in the 6 when they were in front, and I think they were so flat after the game because they knew that they'd let the rest of the league steal a march on them in this game.
And they've beaten top teams this season, and they were on a great run, and this is the type of game that they need to come away with the 3 points. So
one thing I would say,
lost.
I'm glad Janea Dos Santos is okay after that tackle from Gallagher, because I want to see her start. I think she's due for some minutes. Canberra acted pretty early on their subs, maybe an acknowledgement that, the starting 11 they went with
they're on notice.
Wasn't the best combination, so I would like to see Janea play a bit more.
All right, enough on that one. Let's move on to Adelaide United and Western United, who also played out a 1-1 draw this time around. It was Erin Healy who, after a great run, scored this finish, which you'll see, came off the crossbar and was deemed to have crossed the line. Any question marks over this decision?
Well, we spoke to Erin after the match. She was convinced that it definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, crossed that line there. Referee called it. It all happened so quickly, that storming run from her. She's so good running at defenders, but she was convinced that had crossed the line.
Is this a case of where we don't have VAR in the women's match, where the referees are giving benefit of the doubt to the attacking team?
Look, I think that one in particular was quite obvious that it had
I think it was clearly over, but also... the referees would have maybe the line wasn't popping off the grass quite as brightly as it could have in order to make it an easier decision. I think it quite clearly was over the line as well.
Erin Healy certainly making a habit of these weaving runs through the centre of the park. It was Catherine Zimmerman who levelled the scores, another player we've chatted a lot about this season.
Well, she's coming into form. I mean, not just as a finisher here, T, but as a creator.
Yes,
she was the main player sending the ball into the attacking third and helping her teammates get into goal-scoring positions as well.
She touched the ball 3 times in this involvement. Her third touch was the goal itself, so absolutely crucial in this team. The whole Western United team just are in blistering form at the moment. Unlucky not to come away with the 3 points.
Well, as good as the Healy goal was, Adelaide only created 0.27 XG for the whole game. They were secondary...
0.27.
As the game went... Yeah, so not much. As the game went on...
Quarter of a chance.
Western United just continued to accumulate chances. Carly Johnson's in this 4-way tie for the Golden Boot at the moment. She should be well clear at the top of the Golden Boot with the quality of some of the chances that have fallen her way. But
credit to her though. She keeps her head up.
She gets into good positions.
And she continues. She hasn't looked like she's put her head down at all. And she's scored a bunch of goals this season. She's so young, so all of this experience is just going to add to her artillery, and she's just going to get better and better and start scoring more.
Have Western United put the horror of the 5-1 to Wanderers and the 8-2 to Brisbane behind them?
Absolutely.
They don't have another one of these in them this season?
No, not a chance. They have turned this around. It was that draw that they had with City. Since then, they have looked in control of every single game.
Gave them some confidence drawing with the top of the table, and they've been able to hold on to it and really dig deep. All right, let's move on to the final match of the round. Ostensibly first versus last on the ladder, this one. The scoreline might not predict this, but the Wanderers lacklustre again, and Melbourne City did this kind of easy.
Look, it was always going to be hard against the league's leaders, but, I think... I heard Amy Harrison's thoughts after the game. They were, interesting to hear. They are a young side, and I think they were happy with their performance against the top team. They created a couple big chances, but ultimately, Melbourne City were the better team.
I mean, this early goal allowed Melbourne City to dictate the game. Great assist by Speckmeyer, Holly McNamara in the right place. She played 58 minutes in her first start back, so still building those minutes up. A bit of physical attention in the game as well, so finding her legs very much so.
And City scored early, so for Wanderers to hold them out for the rest of the game, there were positive signs there.
Yeah, good to see Holly Mack start as well, rather than coming off the bench. She did get roughed up a little bit at one stage. There was a little bit of concern over a few few rough tackles and an achy foot.
But I guess that's going to happen, and if we want Holly McNamara to get back to Matilda's level, she'll be playing against players that don't know her history nor care for it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think that at least I do feel like there's a duty of care amongst the entire league at the moment with Holly McNamara to compete hard and fair, but be fair, you know. Don't wipe out one of our brightest young talents with something that's outside the rules. I mean, just on Wanderers, T, I thought that the players who've fought hard in their other defeats this year, Chisari winning tackles and interceptions, Buchanan in duels and trying to create some counter-attacks, but it's the same names. Like, did anyone new put their hand up in this one to say, notice me, I'm fighting hard for this team's cause? You know, I think you've still got to give credit to the ones that are trying and fighting for them every week.
And the key for the Wanderers is keeping those players and building the team around them for next season.
Chisari is the sort of player they absolutely need to build the team around into the future.
She's a must-keep, yeah.
Well, our attention after the back of this one will move to the Melbourne Derby, of course, because that's next weekend. First playing second. I think Melbourne City defeated Victory early on in this season, so it'll sit with City at the moment. Thanks for that late winner. Mariana Speckmeyer, I think, was the scorer on that occasion. How do we see it playing out this time?
Very different at Control Cyber pitch. I hope that Melbourne City, because it's their home game, and they're in a position where they might be hosting the two legs of a semi-final. It might be at Amy Park, might be at Control Cyber pitch. I hope they make this special. Like, they haven't really ramped up the sort of sense of their stadium, their home ground. I want the occasion to be big. It's first versus second in a Melbourne derby. It really should feel special.
It should, and I want to see a bit of spice in the game now. There's a lot's happened from then to now, so it'll be an interesting matchup. Victory will have a lot of goal scorers as well now, so a lot of threats for City to look out for.
12 different goal scorers?
12 different goal scorers.
It's pretty crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
My question's about who in Victory can keep up with Holly Mack, though, because we've seen them put some square pegs in round holes to defend this season. Ellie Wilson's been out for the best part of a month now with an ankle injury, and she might have been their quickest defender before this injury. Do they stick with Janchevsky on one flank and Pickett on the other, or do they break glass in case of emergency and try something different for the unique threat of Holly McNamara?
We've seen Pickett up against Princess Sabini, and she did an incredible job in that game. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff starts a certain way and tries things within the game. That's what I'm thinking.
If Laura Pickett was to defend as well as she has against Princess Sabini against Holly McNamara, this will be the making of her as a
she's got
player.
it in her, so give her a go.
Oh, there you have it. Coach's Corner. New segment here on Dub Zone, Coach's Corner. All right, let's have a look at the ladder, because we know Melbourne City is sitting pretty on top, and that big 1v2 victory is pretty important to what happens at the top of the table. A little bit of a gap opening up as we head down the table a little bit further. Western United sitting in 7th and just dropped out of the 6th this week. Any surprises here? Sydney FC, I don't even know where to go. I continually have this conversation.
Slowly
and they make
climbing
it up.
that ladder.
The big one, Wellington away in Brisbane. Now, Wellington blew some chances, were a bit toothless against the Mariners. Can you see them upsetting the Raw and maybe turning the top 6 on its head?
I can, but Raw desperate after 3 losses too, so that's going to make for a really, really great battle.
It's amazing to think Raw have now lost 6 games for the season and 4 of their last 5 with a plus 15 goal difference. They've got the best goal difference in the league.
Would not have thought that.
Well, it will be an exciting round 14, that is for sure, all kicking off on Friday. Western United and Western Sydney Wanderers, 7 p.m. at Ironbark Field. Sydney FC and Adelaide also kicking off at 7 p.m. at Leichhardt Oval. Can Sydney hold out Adelaide for an 11th straight time at home? Then we move on to Saturday's fixtures. Central Coast Mariners, Newcastle Jets. It's the F3 derby. Yes, they are playing for a crazy-looking little trophy. 4:50 p.m. the kick-off there at Industry Group Stadium. The derby in Melbourne, City versus Victory, 5 p.m. And then Canberra United taking on Perth Glory at McKellar Park in Canberra at 5 p.m. Sunday, sit back, relax and enjoy this one. As we said, it's pertinent to what happens on the table. Brisbane Roar, Wellington Phoenix, 6 p.m. and coming to you from Perry Park. So grab your tickets or jump on to 10 Play or Paramount Plus for all of those games. All right, let's find out what is happening this week on Total A-Leagues.
Coming up on Total A-Leagues, we speak to Sydney FC boss Ufuk Talay about the record-breaking transfer of Hayden Matthews, how they're going to replace him and what's gone wrong for the Sky Blues in the last few matches. We also chat Victory, Adelaide, Auckland and all the latest transfer news. Tommy Orr is with me again. Tommy, what are you interested in this week?
Yeah, obviously chatting to Ufuk Talay, interested to hear his thoughts, and always transfer time. It's always interesting to see what movements have been happening around the league. So
That's Total A-Leagues on YouTube and aleagues.com.au every Wednesday.
Well, thank you so much, Vince and Tommy. That's all coming up. A big weekend ahead for us as well. A big thank you to Taya Pellizzeri and Teresa Polias for their input on Dub Zone. And you can catch all the action on 10 Play and Paramount Plus. I'm Amy Duggan. Thanks for your company. Goodbye.